Alrighty, I guess this is something I could post on my channel here. How about a demonstration of the Game Boy Advance version of Cool Herders? So I just finished this recently, gonna post it up to Pico Interactive is taking care of it. They own all the rights to Cool Herders, so it's entirely up to them what happens to it. I'm hoping for a release, but at this time that is preliminary information and subject to change. Anyway, I'm going to play the game for a little bit, show you a little bit of it, maybe talk over top of it a touch. This is a port of the Nintendo DS version that did not make it out, and didn't make it out for a lot of reasons, but the big challenge was going from the DS down to the Game Boy Advance, which is a much smaller system. Memory was a major constraint. Graphics memory went from 768K to 32K. Technically, it's is it 64K or 96? Either way, the memory is restricted, right? You only have some fixed amount of memory for tiles and some fixed amount of memory for sprites. In addition, main K went from megabytes of RAM to 256K of slow memory and 32K of fast memory. Luckily, we're still running off a cartridge, and now we're running off a real cartridge and not a cartridge, not an SD card. So instead of having to worry about loading, at least all the ROM is available instantly. So that helped a great deal. We're actually streaming sprites off the ROM every frame, which, as you can see, it's keeping up pretty well. Hopefully that will be true on hardware. It works on my flash card at least. We will see. Let's see, what else can I say? Oh yes, Nintendo DS version was of course all polygon based, like the Dreamcast version before it, and I had to convert all those polygons down to tiles and sprites. That was a challenge for sure. But fortunately, the Game Boy Advance sprites engine seemed to keep up, and I'm using all 4 tile layers to emulate the graphics. The tile layers were necessary. I'm just going to wait for the demo to come around one more time. But what you're going to see is there's, like I said, there's 4 layers involved. One layer is the pure background, obviously. One layer is the pure foreground that you'll actually see on top of all the player sprites. Here we go. So you'll watch when he comes down, he'll walk behind the skeleton, see? Then there's also a layer for all the destructible objects. They're on their own layer because they need to be able to sit on top of the background tiles, but below the sprites. Now, that's 3 layers. How did I get to 4? Well, it turns out the top layer of overlap was problematic in that if I put 2 of those top overlapping tiles side by side, they actually overlap left and right as well as top to bottom. And the character tiles were conflicting with each other. So to solve that problem, I literally alternate even and odd columns. The ghost sheep that you see here, small challenge, is that they were very transparent on the DS and on the Dreamcast, where we had multiple levels of translucency. We have 1 level of translucency here on the GBA, and it applies to everything. So simplified that a fair bit. Other than that, yeah, that's pretty good. Let's talk about audio for a second before I kick in. Audio in this version is being handled entirely, like all music is being handled by the GSM player that I built way back in like 2001. That was an experiment just to see could I make GSM play on a Game Boy Advance in real time. And the compression is really good. It's like, what did I say? I figured it went at like 1.7 bits per sample or something like that on average, which is really nice. So, all the music used in the Dreamcast and DS versions was compiled down to less than a megabyte, if I remember right. A little tiny bit fuzzy, but the real Game Boy Advance doesn't have a very good speaker, so you really don't notice. The voices I'm all playing direct using the direct DMA capabilities on the other digital channels, so they're all perfectly clear and they play without much interruption. The weird glitch with the Game Boy Advance hardware is the samples play until you tell them to stop. They don't have an end point. So you actually have to count samples or count frames and say, okay, stop now, please. Anyway, that's enough rambling. Let me have a quick game. And let's see here. I'm just going to hit restart. So again, everything you see here is preliminary, subject to change. All rights reserved, all that other crap, whatever. So this menu system is actually lifted directly from the DS version. It was coded to work on the subscreen there, and the graphics modes all exist, so, we just went straight for it. A couple of little bonuses, there's a music player here. We can select any tune. And option screen, so you can select how smart the CPU is. This AI level literally represents how determined the computer is to reach its target. In Lost, anything gets in its way, it gives up and goes somewhere else. Normal, it'll try a little bit harder, and persistent, it's bound and determined. It makes a pretty big difference in the difficulty. Sheep, of course, you can slow them down or speed them up. So the Game Boy Advance mixer is not quite as nice as the Dreamcast, well, it's software on the Dreamcast, and the DS, but we do have 2 levels for sound effects, so full, half, and off. Same for the music, full, half, and off. Brightness is important because the Nintendo GBA has a very dim screen on early releases, so you can actually turn up the brightness of all the graphics. I find 4 works pretty well on my SP. We're running an emulator, so I'm going to leave it at 0. You can't go dimmer because there's no point. Also choose your character. Every character has unique specials and a unique story, although only Zeus has the full storyline. Yes, you could even play as the sheep. And a bunch of different color palettes. They have no impact on the game, but we figured, on the DS you could set your personal favorite color out of a 16 selection. And so for the DS version we created all these alternate palettes, and I thought, well, let's just bring them in. We did the work. Alright, I'm just going to go into the new game. Run through the story, and I don't know how long I'll play. Maybe just till I get bored, or maybe till it ends. Do remember, I've been playing this game for 20 years, and I'm kind of done with sheep. So this crossfade is running in the GBA's 15-bit color mode, and is entirely software driven because you can't load 2 bitmap graphics into RAM at the same time. There's not enough memory. The ARM CPU seems to be just fast enough. If you look close, you'll see that I'm not doing a real crossfade, but it's close enough. The drum beat in the background was just because I didn't have story mode music. I did it on the Dreamcast. I personally like it, and so it stays. Text was all on the subscreen on the DS, but because I found a proportional font here on the GBA, I was actually able to fit all the text. I didn't have to cut maybe a tiny bit here and there, but very little text had to be changed to fit, even though it's only 2 lines now instead of 5 or 6. You do see that they collide a little bit, the descenders, but most of the time that's fine, and I actually adjusted spacing to try and reduce how much they collided. Alright, so your first bit is a training montage. It's not a montage. So you see at the top of the screen there's instructions for me to follow. And every time I follow the instructions, it will move on. I know how to play the game, so I'm not going to follow the instructions. There's a secret mode here. If you blow up all the boxes, it becomes a regular stage instead of a training stage, and the computer will start a tracking. Oops, missed that one. So I try to get it done before the tutorial's finished going through everything. It's not too easy, but it can be done. I should have charged my special is what I should have done, but that's alright. Like, it's what it's telling me to do now anyway, but this should be the last of it. There we go. See, it has switched at the top of the screen to a proper mode. Normally, training stage, the computer won't shoot at you. It'll still play, but it doesn't play to win. Let's go ahead and zap that guy. I am not doing well. I should have shocked that guy instead. Which time's left? 30 seconds? That's enough time. Here's a little trick. You can sort of tap your movement key. Alright, where are you, buddy? Let's get you. Got him. Now if I can just get some of the sheep. There we go. Oh boy. No, don't chase him. I'm in second. That's not a good thing. There we go. Let's get some of these sheep. Come on. I'm not doing too good here. You can't fail. There we go. You can't fail the training stage, so it's okay.
Victory was foreseen.
Foresee this. It's supposed to be bubble gum. Little Batman. Alright, so this stage you got to be pretty aggressive because you can't stun the sheep and you have to be first. So first thing I want to do is get some power-ups, get my speed and lightning up, catch any sheep that come my way, of course. Try not to get zapped because I don't want to lose my sheep. Oh, you bitch. Am I allowed to swear? This is my stream. Oh, I do not like that she's following me. Let's get some charge going. Again, you can tap and then you can move while you're charging. There we go. Gets them out of my way for a second. See if I can catch any of these sheep. There we go. Don't come my way. Second still. Not doing good. Okay, come on. There you go. I think I just made it.
Yeah.
I love this. A big guy with a sheep for a head. So the one trick with this one that was really hard to overcome was on the DS version, of course, you had two screens, so you could have a radar view to play on. And on the Dreamcast, of course, it was higher resolution. We fit the entire maze on the screen. So with this one, it's a little hard to tell what's going on. I actually did provide a solution for that. If you hold the shoulder button and move the D-pad, both shoulder buttons, yeah, then you can actually pan around the maze. But to be honest, during gameplay, I don't really tend to do that. Oh boy. So the trick with this one, ghost sheep can only be captured when they're stunned. So you have to zap them and then pick them up. And they can go through walls. The enemies are annoying, but if you ignore them, it's not a problem. They can't zap you unless they get charged up by someone else. Yeah, like that. Oh. Yeah, Isker. Hades. All right, let's do a lightning shock when we can, and let's catch these guys. Oh, shoot. I just lost all my sheep. I can't fire till this goes away. Come on, come on. Clear. And I missed. That's good. Ghost sheep cannot be dislodged by getting zapped, so only a special is a problem for ghost sheep. 12 seconds. I don't know if it's going to work. Let's try. I don't think I got anybody. And I'm in last place. Good. Time's up. Oh, time's not up because of that. Too slow. Well, that was disappointing. Well, that's probably good for a trailer anyway. I'm going to just let this count out. And that's a preview to Cool Herders on the Nintendo GBA. So hopefully that will come out, and I'll let you know when it does. Take care.